Russia is quietly moving the drone war closer to NATO. New bases are reportedly being built within striking distance of alliance territory, turning cheap drones into a new weapon of pressure against Europe. And now NATO is looking at a much bigger answer, a major expansion of its nuclear posture aimed at Russia. Take a look.
The battlefield is moving, not with missiles, not with artillery, not with fighter jets, but with small unmanned aircraft that can be launched from hidden positions and sent deep across borders. NATO is facing growing drone threats along its eastern flank due to the war in Ukraine. Stray, long-range drones, GPS jamming and suspected hybrid sabotage operations have forced member states like Latvia and Romania to scramble fighter jets and shoot down such aircraft. A Telegraph investigation reports that Russia has established a network of secret drone bases capable of launching long-range drones towards NATO territory. The investigation identified 10 locations that could give Moscow new options for striking targets far beyond the Ukrainian battlefield. That changes the equation. Russia does not need to send expensive aircraft deep into NATO airspace. It can launch drones from closer to the alliance. They are cheaper, but they can be produced in large numbers, and they can force NATO to spend far more expensive weapons trying to stop them. The danger becomes even greater when these bases are combined with Russia's wider missile and nuclear forces. Russia has the world's largest nuclear arsenal by total inventory, with estimates of around 5,400 warheads. The United States has over 5,000. Together, the two countries possess the overwhelming majority of the world's nuclear weapons. Now, Europe is responding. According to reports, there are plans for a dramatic expansion of NATO's nuclear posture in Europe. With a reported 250% increase, that would represent a major shift in how the alliance prepares for a possible confrontation with Russia. NATO already has American nuclear weapons on European soil. US nuclear bombs are reportedly stored at bases including Kleine Brogel in Belgium, Buchel in Germany, Aviano and Gedi in Italy, Volkel in the Netherlands and reportedly Incirlik in Turkey. These nuclear weapons form part of NATO's nuclear sharing system, and they are being modernized. So Europe now faces a dangerous chain reaction. Russia expands its drone infrastructure, NATO strengthens its conventional defenses, and nuclear deterrence moves back towards the center of European security. The message from Moscow is clear. Russia is preparing for a long confrontation. Now, NATO's answer appears equally clear. If Russia moves the battlefield closer to Europe, the alliance intends to make the cost of escalation much higher. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
On to Europe now. It's been a summer of soaring temperatures there, scorched woodlands, infrastructure buckling under searing heat. However, the real toll of these heat waves seems to lie in the loss of human lives, over 16,000 lives. Europe has been grappling with the unrelenting heat for the last several days and weeks. The continent has recorded at least 10,000 excess deaths now, highest since 2003. France alone has reported over 5,700 excess deaths since June, a 36% rise over normal rates. and most deaths being recorded at home. The heat waves have not only left behind that trail of death across several parts, but also a trail of millions of acres in scorched earth this year. More than 550,000 hectares of land have been devastated in Europe, with Belgium still grappling with a raging wildfire, which has burned through over 3,000 acres of land near the German border, making the worst wildfire witnessed by the country in over 2 decades. The fires have been so intense across Europe that they have been recorded even from space. Hundreds of residents have been evacuated from the Greek island, while thousands had to be evacuated across Spain as wildfires burned through over 16,000 hectares of land. The human and environmental cost of the heat waves and wildfires is set to also impact at least 1% of the bloc's GDP and result in economic losses in excess of 180 billion euros in 2026. Moody's estimating that the gap between losses and insurance payouts is rising every year. In 2025, the economic losses in output were pegged at 43 billion euros, while only generating 500 million euros in insurance payouts. Western Europe has already lived through its hottest June and July on record, and with fresh heat wave warnings for large parts of northwestern European countries, and the long summer is far from over. On to India now. The country's E20 petrol policy is facing fresh questions, with the country's chief economic advisor backing the return of a lower ethanol blended option. That's right. In an opinion piece written in the Indian Express, he and the Department of Economic Affairs consultant also arguing that E10 petrol could be sold alongside E20 to address concerns among the owners of older vehicles. Let's break this down. India, remember, made E20 the only petrol variant available at pumps from the 1st of April. After reaching the 20% blending target ahead of schedule, the government says the policy reduces crude oil imports, saves foreign exchange, and supports farmers. But the new proposal focuses on India's older vehicle fleet, estimated at around 75 to 80 million two-wheelers. The authors say the evidence does not support widespread fears of engine damage from E20. But older carburetor vehicles and ethanol-sensitive rubber components remain a concern, reportedly. The debate, however, goes beyond vehicle performance as such. The CEA's column raises a larger question. What will India need to grow if ethanol blending rises further? Ethanol is produced from sugarcane, maize, rice, and other crops. More ethanol demand means more agricultural feedstock being directed towards fuel, and that can compete with food, animal feed, and other industrial uses as well. Maize is particularly important because it is both an ethanol feedstock and a major input for poultry and livestock. Sugarcane already illustrates the trade-off. Reuters estimates that around 3 million tons of sugar, or roughly 10% of annual output, was diverted to ethanol this season. If sugarcane-based ethanol is restricted, as the government has considered, the required ethanol would have to come increasingly from other crops. The concern becomes sharper if India eventually moves from E20 towards E27 or E30. And there's also a water and land use question. Producing ethanol requires not just industrial capacity, but the crops that feed those distilleries. Sugarcane is particularly water intensive, while changes in cropping patterns can also affect how land and water are allocated across the agricultural economy. They both argue in that column that these decisions can be difficult to reverse once farmers, distilleries, and supply chains are built around fuel production. Their immediate recommendation is therefore to bring back E10 alongside E20, giving owners of older vehicles a lower blend option while retrofitting takes place. Now, the government, however, has said that there is currently no proposal to return to E10 or offer multiple petrol blends nationwide. And the broader issue here remains India's ethanol strategy. It's not just about reducing oil imports. It's also about balancing energy security with food demand, water use, also the long-term cost of changing agricultural priorities.